And Lauri Markkanen being 28, not that he's like, super old or anything, but 28 for a team that's like in the middle of a rebuild or in the beginning stages. I mean, you could even argue of a rebuild with a bunch of like 22-year-olds. Right? Lauri Markkanen kind of feels like the odd guy out. They also didn't really want to pay him. That's why they were trying to trade him, but they weren't able to get the return and package that they wanted. Now Lauri Markkanen is making like an insane amount of money, which is my biggest issue with trying to trade for Lauri Markkanen. I've seen, and I will randomly get comments all the time about like Lakers should trade for Lauri Markkanen. And again, I like Lauri Markkanen a lot, especially I don't think he's your first or second option, but as like your third, fourth, or fifth option, I think you're probably the best team in basketball, right? Because he's a guy that can sought and beautiful. I personally, though, would rather have Lauri Markkanen than Austin Reaves as our third option, because however you feel, even if you're somebody that thinks Austin Reaves is, the second coming of Michael Jordan, Lauri Markkanen, his skill set just fits better alongside Luka and LeBron James. His ability to be a lights out catch and shoot 3-point shooter, his ability to go give you 20 plus a night without needing a bunch of dribbles and needing the ball in his hand and all that other thing is just a much better natural fit. And you could argue I'd rather pay Lauri Markkanen, 30 plus million than Austin Reaves 30 plus million, but I'd rather pay Austin Reaves 30 to 35 million than Lauri Markkanen what he's making right now. Lauri Markkanen this season is going to make $46.3 million plus $46.1 million the next year, $49.8 million, so basically $50 million, and then almost $54 million in the final year. He's literally just getting into his contract. I don't think he's a $40 plus million guy. I don't. Just like Austin Reaves, I don't think is a $40 plus million guy, because I don't think that they are, like, if they're your best player or even your second best player, you're probably in a bad spot. You're probably not a very good team. You're probably like a team like Utah, right? Maybe with a Luka Doncic, because he is so good and so great. Maybe a Lauri Markkanen, plus you could have like, perimeter guys alongside those two, where Austin Reaves is a lot harder because like you need basically a super elite defensive center. Lauri Markkanen in a, post LeBron era could just kind of like LeBron could depart right off into the sun. You could just slide Lauri Markkanen down to the 4 and have Lauri Markkanen, DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, and then whatever else, right? Because I believe you'd have to trade Austin Reaves if you were to land a Lauri Markkanen. I don't think the Lakers would trade Lauri Markkanen this year, but, next offseason, right? Do you maybe go look for a sign and trade, or if he looking really good during the regular season? Because it's one thing to light it up in Eurobasket. It's another thing to do it in the NBA and just the defensive scheming and all that stuff, to where, Lauri Markkanen is not a guy that's like averaging 40 a game in the NBA, right? Like, he's a good player. He's averaging, last year was basically a 20-point a game scorer, but the greatest player of all time from what we've seen, in Eurobasket. He's not going to be that good at the NBA level. The problem with Lauri Markkanen is getting to essentially $47 million that you'd have to send out, because Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura get you to, 32, 33 million. So you still need another 13, 14 million. So you're talking Austin Reaves, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect. That get you what would they say 33, get you 44. Basically get you to where you need to be, clear a couple million. But you probably have to do like a Maxi Kleber or something like that, because you probably need to clear off enough salary in order to now carve out and build out your roster, right? Because if you're doing a 4 or 5 for 1 trade and you already have an open roster spot, you're going to have, if you do a 4 for 1 trade, you're going to have 4 open roster spots, right, that you're going to have to fill and solve. Also, is Lauri Markkanen worth Austin Reaves, Rui Hachimura, plus whatever else? Now, if you have to, I wouldn't give up a first. You would be bailing out Utah tremendously. Like, we're getting off of like $300 million for you, right? Like, or 2.5, or, $250 million. Like, you want to talk about bailing you out? We are bailing you out. Like, I'm not giving up any picks. If anything, I'd be trying to get Utah to give up picks, but they probably wouldn't do that, right? I also don't know if they would want Austin Reaves. Like, maybe it's just kind of like take Austin Reaves and figure it out. It could be your problem, but you might actually have to trade Austin Reaves into somebody else, right? And maybe that's what you're doing. Maybe you're trading Utah or trading Austin Reeves and a picks in another player or something to go and trade. Maybe you can, maybe even because it's going to Utah and Utah's cap, right? Maybe you can even take on a more salary size player. Maybe somebody will be willing, like, hey, we'll give you this guy who's 17 million because we cleared 3 million off our books, and make that trade. And Utah's like, yeah, we'd prefer that guy more, whatever, right? Like, losing Rui and Austin Reeves, to me, it would depend on what else are you getting in return. Because Lauri Markkanen would just fill in where Austin Reeves is. And now you could argue, now you don't have that like question of like, do we start Austin Reeves? Do we start whatever? Like, I would immediately go, yeah, Luka, Marcus Smart, Lauri Markkanen, LeBron James, and DeAndre. Like, that would be my starting five. You could also argue Jared Vanderbilt, especially with Lauri Markkanen shooting, especially if he can get back to that 40 plus, and we'll touch on that here in a moment. But like, Lauri Markkanen, his shooting, I think could help solve a lot for you, and that size and that length and stuff. You'd be very long, very lengthy, very versatile. And like I said, Lauri Markkanen being able to slot in 3 through 5 for you, you could kind of have him play like the Rui small ball role, and it'd still have a 7-footer out there, which is really good to help, block shots and things like that. But because if you were to do a trade like that, could you convince like an Al Horford and a DeAnthony Melton and maybe like a Malik Beasley to come, right, and then leave that open roster spot, the 15th spot, right? Because then at that point, it's not that you're trading for Lauri Markkanen, it's you're trading for Lauri Markkanen, whatever, Malik Beasley, Al Horford, and DeAnthony Melton, right? Now you're basically doing a 4-for-4 swap, but you're getting a higher end guy in Lauri Markkanen that makes more sense long-term, sort of alongside Luka. Problem is, he's just overpaid. If this was pre-CBA, you go make the trade, go do what you got to do. But like this CBA, that's tough because you're paying him to be basically your second guy. Basically paying him to be your top end guy. Now you could argue you got Luka so much cheaper over the next few years that you kind of offset it and justify, but he has 4 years still on his deal, right? Like, it's just it makes things really difficult. I don't think the Lakers could trade for Lauri Markkanen even if they wanted to. Right? Like, so even if you're somebody that does want them to do it, I don't think the Lakers can is the problem. But getting in the stats here a little bit. 47 games played, 47 games started. Right? 31.4 minutes per game, 15 field goal attempts per game. So around like what Austin Reeves is shooting, 42.3% from the field, 3-point range. On 8.5 attempts, he shot 35%, which is not good. However, the last 2 seasons on 8 attempts shot 40%. He shot 39.9% and then 39.1%. So he shot basically 39 to 40% 2 straight seasons on 8 attempts. So he'd be sought alongside Luka Doncic, LeBron James. I think he'd probably be back to 40 or even 38%. And you're talking about on volume. You want to talk about volume, you're talking volume. 2-point range, 6.4 attempts. Shot 52.5%, EFG of 52.1%. Free throw shooting, 87%, or 87.6%, if you want to be exact, on 4 attempts. He is a career 87% free throw shooter. He grabbed 6 rebounds, 1.5 assists, a steal, half a block, and 19 points per game.